My investment portfolio grew by around £31,500 in 2025. And from me saying that, you're probably assuming that I've made some incredible stock picks and I've almost doubled the size of my portfolio in 1 year. But the reality is a bit more boring. But in this video, I want to go through my 2025 investment wraps. You've probably seen Spotify and a lot more companies do it now, but I think the original was Spotify, I could be wrong there, where you get a recap and a summary of your year. I'm going to do that for my investing journey in 2025. I'll give you a full breakdown of how my portfolio changed, the contributions, the returns, and also a brief insight of what I'm planning on doing in 2026. Although I might do a separate video for that as well. As always, this is not investment advice. I'm simply sharing my own journey. What's suitable for me may not be suitable for you. And as always, remember that when investing, your capital is at risk. Okay, so I've got the headline numbers here. At the start of 2025, on the 1st of January, my total portfolio, my ISA and my SIPs, was £43,579. That was £38,946 in the ISAs and £4,634 in the self-invested personal pension. By the end of 2025, or as at the time of recording, near the end of December, my total portfolio was £75,165. That is £51,757 in the ISA and £23,408 in my SIPs. So as mentioned in the introduction, that's total growth of around £31,500 in just a year. Now, that headline growth looks incredibly impressive, but it's very easy to misinterpret what actually happened. So let's get down into the details of what actually happened this year. So first of all, I want to talk about the mid-year dip. So in April this year, pretty much coincided perfectly with the start of the tax year in the UK. We saw the market dip to its bottom point of the year due to the impact of the Trump tariffs when he came out with his board. We did see the market peak around February time. March was a negative month, and then the start of April was negative as well. And it was all about tariff uncertainty. So at the bottom of this peak, despite the fact that I'd already contributed more money into the portfolio, on the 6th of April, my portfolio was £33,834. So it was down from where it started the year, even despite the fact that I'd contributed quite a significant amount by this point. And this is the reality of investing. It's not smooth sailing, and you could well start investing just before the next dip or crash. It's important to see both sides of investing. Overall, this year turned out pretty well, but it's been a hell of a journey, and we had that pretty low point back in April. And I do like to think back of the comments and news stories and the videos that I saw around that time. There was a lot of people thinking this was it. This is going to take 5-10 years to recover. In this case, it barely even took a few months to recover, but we'll get onto that later. It's just, you can't really talk about this year without getting that blip out of the way, because it did feel very significant at the time. Okay, now the most important part of this 2025 investment portfolio wrapped is my contributions. This is the real engine of growth this year. And it's not exciting, it's not the sexy part of investing, but it's the reality that when you don't have a big portfolio, your contributions do the heavy lifting. Unless you're taking incredible levels of risk, it's going to be your contributions that do the heavy lifting. And in my case, my total contributions in 2025 were £8,300 into my ISA and £15,775 into self-invested personal pensions, including basic rate tax relief that gets added automatically. So when you take into account that headline figure I said in the hook of this video compared to what I contributed, you can see, the real engine of growth in 2025 was these contributions. And as I want to make very clear is, this is what investing is all about when you are getting started. And it does take a long time to start seeing real growth when it comes to returns if you are having a diversified portfolio. I mostly invest into ETFs. And for some people, that's boring. They consider that slow and they want to take on more risk to get the higher returns. But I always want to frame it in the sense of, it's easy when we've had a good year and we've seen some certain growth stocks, hype stocks deliver incredible returns. It's easy to turn around and say, why bother with ETFs when you can get incredible returns of individual stocks? And then we completely forget the other end of individual stock picking, which is the fact that you can lose all your money. Maybe not all of it. You have to be very unlucky to pick a stock that goes to zero, although it is possible. But catastrophic losses are very common when it comes to individual stocks. A few examples for 2025. I think B&M is a UK stock that I've seen a lot of discussion about on certain communities, and that's done terrible in 2025. If we think back to COVID, a lot of people were buying Moderna for the vaccines, and I think the Moderna stock has done terrible since then. Oh, and another one that's just come to my head, Novo Nordisk. Novo Nordisk has also had a terrible 2025. So these are a few examples of individual stocks that may not seem incredibly risky, but they've been wealth destroyers in 2025. And whilst they may have a turnaround, it's just not the level of risk that I'm comfortable taking with the vast majority of my portfolio. Yes, I might have small positions in individual stocks, but imagine if I had my entire portfolio into individual stocks and saw something like that. I personally couldn't put up with that. You may be able to, but I just like to have those both sides of this coin. Yes, you can get incredible returns, but you can also see incredible losses. Okay, so now it's the returns. How much did my investment portfolio actually return in 2025? So my ISA grew by £4,510 in 2025, and my SIP grew by £2,999. Now, that doesn't seem too impressive. In terms of my total portfolio, that's about 10% of the current value in gains. But what you've got to remember is I didn't start with £75,000 at the start of the year. I ended up with that. So the contributions came along the way. So you can't say I had a 10% return because that's not weighted based on my contributions. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I've had incredible returns. The vast majority of my portfolio this year has been in a global index fund. So I've had global index fund-like returns for the most part. What I really want to hammer home in this investment portfolio wrapped is that I'm never going to be the most exciting investor because I don't believe that for most people, excitement is what you need your portfolio to be. Maybe you need another part of your life to be exciting rather than your finances. Again, I'm just speaking about the general risk tolerance of society. I don't think most people can handle the swings of individual stocks. And just to get onto the point of what you see online is that you do have the element of survivorship bias. The sort of people that are posting screenshots that become individual stock gurus on social media are the people who have had winners. And you've got to kind of separate, is that because they know what they're doing and they'll be able to replicate that every year? Or is it just because if enough people pick stocks, some people are going to be winners? That doesn't mean that they're the next big thing and they're going to be able to consistently do it. Most people over the long term will underperform the market with stock picking. Okay, the next part of my 2025 portfolio wrapped is a big point in this year was account switching and transfers. So the biggest one of them all was in end of May, start of June, I transferred my Invest Engine ISA to Trading 212. And this was just so I could have all my stocks and shares ISA in one place. I had it split because, we'll get onto this more later, but it's because I was basically using my Invest Engine portfolio for ETFs and my Trading 212 portfolio for investment trusts and individual stocks. And I just decided that the more I learn about investing, the more I realize what works for me. And simplicity is at the core of what I want my long-term portfolio to be. And I didn't need to have it split because I decided I want the bulk of my portfolio into ETFs anyway. So splitting it just wasn't necessary for me anymore. Have it all in one place, it's easy to manage. And that was about a £23,000 ISA transfer from Invest Engine to Trading 212 to just have one stocks and shares ISA provider. Another highlight of my account openings this year was a Hargreaves Lansdown self-invested personal pension. That's for two reasons. First of all, they had an offer where if you deposited £10,000, you got a £200 John Lewis gift card. I could definitely benefit from that. I'm a year into our new house and there's still a lot more things to buy, so I couldn't ignore that really. But also because Invest Engine, which I have my other self-invested personal pension with, doesn't accept limited company contributions. So I opened a Hargreaves Lansdown one as well. In terms of portfolio tracking for my ISA and SIP combined, I do use Getquin, which is a portfolio tracker. You can add transactions manually, or with some platforms you can sync it and you can forecast dividends, see your total return, asset allocation. I do think it's pretty cool. And if you do want to try it out as a place to track your portfolios, I do have my affiliate link in the description. As I say, that is an affiliate link, so I do earn a commission if you do use it at no extra cost to you. In the last part of this video, I want to show how my investment portfolio breakdown has changed significantly in 2025. So at the start of 2025, I had what I can look back and see now as an overly complicated portfolio for me. There was no reason for me to take on that much complexity. And the reason why it was like this in the first place is because I enjoyed investing. I enjoyed researching different ETFs. I liked factor investing, but it got to the point where I was thinking, yeah, this is a bit too complicated. And I just wanted to simplify it. So you can see at the start of the tax year, I had one ISA, which was 35% GGRG, 35% XDEQ, 14% UC99, 8% EMIM, and 8% ISP6. So that's two developed markets quality factor ETFs, one USA quality factor ETF, an emerging markets ETF, and a US small cap ETF. And then in my other ISA, I had JGGI, which is an investment trust that invests globally. I had USSC, which is a small cap value ETF, and BMY, which is Bloomsbury Publishing, a UK individual stock. Then I also had my SIP, which was pretty simple, a global index fund and US small caps. So my big problem there is that a portfolio for most people probably shouldn't take that long to read out. And I realized that although I enjoy experimenting, the behavioral balance just wasn't there anymore. And it was becoming a bit too difficult to keep on top of, questioning myself, thinking about different parts of the portfolio performing well. And now towards the end of the year, the current structure of my portfolio is so much simpler. Across my ISAs and SIPs, 70% roughly is in a global index tracking ETF, just delivers a return to the global stock market. Then 25% are in satellite funds. These have those factor ETFs that I enjoy researching about, learning about, and tilting my portfolio with, as well as a small part to actively managed investment trusts as well. And then the final 5%, which I'll probably decrease even further in the next coming year, is individual stocks, just to scratch that stock picking itch. And you can see how thinking of my portfolio like this, it's just taken so much weight off my shoulders. And this is the biggest thing I want to convey with my personal journey. What I've learned the most is that I've finally feel like I've struck the balance between having an interest in investing, but also having a portfolio that's easy to stick to. And we do have that kind of like Dunning-Kruger curve when it comes to investing, in the sense that when you first start learning, you start learning more and you like trying out different strategies. But then the more you learn, the more you realize actually the simple strategies also work really well, and there's no need to have this complexity. Yes, if you enjoy that complexity, there's no reason why you can't stick to it, but you become more aware of the behavioral side of investing and asking if it's worth it. Of course, I'm speaking from my own personal experience here, and you might disagree. I'm not preaching here. I'm not saying the way I'm doing things is the best. I'm just saying how my opinion has changed over time, where I can still try out those strategies, but they're a small part of the portfolio, and it really just feels like this time that I've got the right balance, and I can continue tinkering, trying out those different things with that 25-30% in those satellite funds, whilst also for the vast majority of my portfolio, I can switch off and I just don't even give it a second thought. Let me know the highlights of your portfolio in the comments below. What does your 2025 portfolio wrap look like? Hopefully you've seen some great gains, or you feel more confident with your approach, or you've realized that things need to change going to 2026. Let me know. I'd love to hear. And to summarize for me for 2026, it's going to be a bit more of the same. And I'm also going to I've decided now I'm going to do a separate video addressing my investing plan for 2026 and how it's changed compared to my investing plan for 2025. Some of those things I stuck to, but other things I've changed significantly from what I said in that video. As always, thank you for watching.